For years, AI has been developing at this just breakneck speed in a world with very few guardrails. Well, that era is officially over. Today, we're diving into the new global rulebook for AI.
So yeah, the Wild West days of AI are definitely behind us. And that brings up a huge question, right? Who's actually writing these new laws? Let's break it down.
All right, let's start with the big picture. All around the globe, there's this fundamental shift happening. The age of totally unregulated AI is giving way to an age of rules and, well, accountability.
After this incredible period of just rapid, almost completely unchecked development, governments are finally stepping in. They're not just watching from the sidelines anymore. They are actively writing the rulebook, creating guardrails to manage AI's incredible power and, of course, its potential risks.
And when you talk about a global rulebook, there's one piece of legislation that really stands out. It's kind of become the blueprint for everyone else, the European Union's AI Act.
So what is it exactly? Well, it's the planet's first comprehensive, legally binding law for all things AI. But the really fascinating thing about it is its core idea. It gets that not all AI is created equal. The entire framework is built on one simple concept: risk.
And this is the perfect way to visualize it. Just think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you have the most dangerous applications, and as you move down, the rules get less and less strict. It's a really simple but powerful way to categorize a super complex technology. So let's break down the layers.
Okay, at the absolute peak of that pyramid, you have systems with what they call unacceptable risk. These are things the EU has decided are just too dangerous for society, period. We're talking about government-run social scoring, AI that could subliminally manipulate your behavior, and most real-time biometric scanning in public. These things are just outright banned.
Now, the next level down is high risk. These systems aren't banned, but boy, they face some really strict rules. This category covers AI used in pretty high-stakes areas. Think about AI that helps decide if you get a job or a loan, or is used in a critical medical device. For these, companies have to prove transparency, make sure there's always human oversight, and keep meticulous records.
And listen, this isn't some far-off, distant future thing. The timeline is actually pretty aggressive. The ban on those unacceptable risk systems, that starts in 2025. Then, over the next couple of years, all the heavy requirements for high-risk AI become mandatory. For businesses, the clock is already ticking.
Okay, so that's what's happening in Europe. But what about the rest of the world? When we zoom out, we see this isn't just a European story. But the global map of regulation, well, it's looking pretty fragmented. All the major players are taking very different paths.
This table gives us a great snapshot of what's going on. You've got the EU with its single, comprehensive law that tries to cover everything. Then, in contrast, you have the United States, which doesn't have a single federal AI law, at least not yet. Instead, it's relying on guidelines like the NIST framework and rules for specific industries. And then there's China, taking a totally different approach, releasing very specific, targeted rules for things like recommendation algorithms and deepfakes as they pop up.
Now, here's a really crucial point. It's not just about these new, shiny AI-specific laws. Companies also have to figure out how to navigate all the existing rules. An AI system still has to comply with major data privacy laws, like GDPR in Europe or the CCPA in California. This adds a whole other layer of complexity, especially around privacy and intellectual property rights.
So, I know these rules can sound pretty abstract. Let's make it real. How does this actually affect a business day-to-day? We're going to walk through a super common scenario, a company that wants to use an AI tool for hiring.
So just imagine a company wants to use a smart AI tool to help its HR team sift through thousands and thousands of resumes for a new job opening in, say, Germany or France. This is a perfect real-world test case for all these new regulations.
So what's their game plan? First things first, they have to assess the risk. Since the tool is being used for hiring, the EU AI Act immediately classifies it as high risk, and that triggers a mandatory checklist. They've now got to build a risk management system, create detailed logs to audit the AI's performance, and they might even have to register their tool in a central EU database.
And this isn't just some hypothetical problem. Businesses really see this as a huge hurdle. I mean, just look at this chart. When you ask companies what's stopping them from deploying more AI, compliance and security is the #1 obstacle. It's a major concern.
So as we start to wrap up, it's really easy to look at all this and just see it as a burden. A long list of rules you have to follow to avoid getting fined.
But there's a much bigger idea at play here, one that kind of reframes this whole conversation.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Proactively engaging with these regulations isn't just a defensive move to protect your wallet, it's a constructive one. The processes that are required for compliance, things like risk management and documentation, those are the very same processes that help you build better, more ethical, and more reliable AI systems in the first place.
Ultimately, the goal here isn't to stop innovation. Not at all. It's to steer it in the right direction. The best way to look at these new rulebooks is as a framework, a guide for building an AI ecosystem that people can actually trust and that truly benefits all of us. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We know for a fact AI is going to play a massive role in writing our future, so the question we all need to be asking is who should be holding the pen when it comes to writing the rules for AI itself? Thanks for joining me for this breakdown.